What's up everybody, KleverKrok back once again for another Pokemon Draft Viability video. And man, this is probably the one I've been looking forward to the most so far. I love this guy, Zapdos. Forget about Venusaur, even though we don't have him gone yet. Zapdos is my man, and they forgot to put static here? What is wrong with them? Okay, anyways, Zapdos is awesome. 580 base stat. Just really strong. It's got actually average defensive stats, and it's got a good speed stat and a really strong special attack. It's a really good Pokemon. I love this thing. So I drafted this thing in Season 3 of the GTA, which is currently going on, and honestly, I wanted Thundurus again, like I had Season 1, Incarnate, that is, because I really wanted that prankster. And I was like, well, what's another good electric type? I'm really big on having a good electric type, and especially a faster one in the draft format. So I knew that Zapdos wasn't the fastest, but I knew he wasn't considered slow. But he had a lot of variety going for him, and I never really, used Zapdos all that much in the draft format. And I don't think he had been drafted at this point. Could be wrong. But basically, I was like, man, Zapdos is pretty cool. It's still out there. I'm going to get it. I really like that electric flying. That ground immunity is really nice. I think it has 3 weaknesses, and they're all singular. Might be 2. But I'm thinking of ice. Yeah, I guess it's just 2. Ice and rock. So that's pretty sweet. So as you can tell, I have a lot of different ways I like to run Zapdos, and I think that's what makes it really strong, is there's a lot of variety in how you can build this Pokemon, even though its moves are pretty straightforward. The thing is, when you know what your opponent has, you can prepare for that. So even though its moveset doesn't change all that much when it comes to at least the offensive options, you know what they're going to bring, you can build around that. And I really like what Zapdos can do. Even though it doesn't have a wide offensive move pool, it hits hard when it can hit. So the first one obviously is it gets Defog, which shouldn't be ignored. Any Pokemon that gets Rapid Spin or Defog and can get rid of those nasty hazards is worth considering. So you switch it in on rocks, you switch it in on spikes, or you get it in there before they get laid down. You can use Defog to get rid of them and then hit them hard for a Volt Switch and pivot out. You can run in bulky, which is what I like to do. I like running bulky pivots, that, especially when they have hazard removal, it just makes them even better. Zapdos can be a pivot and a defogger all at once, and still take hits, which is awesome. The only downside is that you can't run static on your Zapdos and run defog because it's an event Pokemon that has static, and it can't learn defog in that situation, I believe. So that one's okay. I don't use that one as often. I don't like having to rely on Zapdos for defog, even though I do use that. I also really like running offensive Zapdos. Not always the fastest, but decent. So I usually put him just over that 80 base speed stat. So Pokemon like Dragonite can't outspeed it, and I can still hit it with things like HP Ice, or I want to pivot out with Volt Switch. So I can run Life Orb, I can run Choice Specs, Choice Scarf, and outspeed things, yet still be really bulky and have the chance of contact moves, paralyzing them for my awesome static ability. 30% chance that contact moves will paralyze the user. So that's awesome. That's really awesome. Especially on sweepers, that's a big deal if they get paralyzed. So the other option, of course, is running things like Choice Specs or Choice Scarf. I usually run a slower Zapdos because it can be bulky, and I usually run it with the specs if I do run it with a choice item, because it hits so hard. But you can run it at max timid speed and it still hits so hard because it just does so much damage with that specs on it. And Choice Scarf is also really good too because it's got that Volt Switch, and it's got U-turn if you would prefer to use that, which makes it nice. And then, of course, there's this set I've used before, which was unsuccessful in that situation, and I know that it was risky to run it that way. But man, was it cool. I know it works, and I've seen it used before, is Sub-Agility, and then using Baton Pass to pass it along later. If you know what your opponent's going to bring and you feel comfortable bringing something like Thunderbolt or Heat Wave. You can bring something to hit while you're behind that sub, set up an agility, and as that sub is broken, and you have that agility set up, or you have the sub and the agility, you can baton pass into a Pokemon that's going to need that extra speed and a sub for a free switch in. That can be amazing. That can be really good for setting up a Pokemon that's usually slower but hits really hard. So that's a pretty cool set. I like running static and physically defensive on that type of thing. The next one would be the Assault Vest variant, which, like I said, Zapdos can be really bulky even though it has average stats. And the best part about that is that it has the ability Static, which makes it more of a defensive threat. So you can run that max HP, max special attack, so you can hit it hard and then have a decent, like a Bold Nature or something like that with one EV in the defense to give it an okay defense stat, can live some hits, but it also can take, with that Assault Vest, it can take a couple special defensive hits, which normally, they probably would think, oh, I'll use an Ice Beam, oh, I'll use, it's usually an Ice Beam or something like that, and it doesn't kill them, and you return that usually on something that can't survive a Thunderbolt or a Heat Wave or maybe an HP Grass or something, and that catches them off guard because usually when they don't see leftovers and they don't see Life Orb, they expect that it's choiced, probably. So they're going to think, oh, on the switch out, if I go into my ground type or a Pokemon that has Volt Absorb or Lightning Rod or something like that, and I catch him on the Thunderbolt, I'm going to be free. So you get that chance of being able to survive that move, knowing that you're slow. They switch out. They think you might be choiced, so they switch into something that's immune to electric somehow. And then you hit them with a Heat Wave, or you hit them with something else, or you even risk hitting them with a Thunderbolt, and then just switch out later. And you can fake that game of having a choice on your Zapdos to save that for later and catch them off guard. And Zapdos can just be really a huge threat because the items really give it variability in what you can do, because it can be ran defensive, as you can see here, or offensive. And with the Rocky Helmet, you can run a really good physically defensive wall with Zapdos. It's not the bulkiest wall by any means, but with Static and Rocky Helmet, you can run Toxic, Roost, Volt Switch, and Heat Wave, other moves like that you might want for coverage depending on what your opponent has. It makes a really good Pokemon that's got a variety of options in how you build it, as well as what you can run on it. And like I said, it does have a very limited amount of offensive options when it comes to moves, so Hidden Powers, Heat Wave, Thunderbolt, any other electric type move. It's got U-Turn, which is okay, but other than that, there's nothing that really sticks out. So it doesn't have a lot in that way, but it can be run really bulky, and because it can live more things, that's what makes it scary to have that strong special attack as well. So it can be slow, it can be fast, and it's good in any of those variants. So along with Static, it can really, if you have to sacrifice it for the Dragonite that's about to hit you with Outrage or Extreme Speed, you have the potential to paralyze it and make that Dragon Dance useless, because it'll get that potential paralysis. And that can be really good for you. So it's a good thing to have. It's good utility. Obviously, it's not something that you want to always rely on, but it's something to consider. So really, that's kind of all I've got for Zapdos. Like I said, I really enjoy this Pokemon. I really enjoy using it. There's so much variety in it. And like I said in previous videos, fast electric types and just decent electric types in general, which Zapdos isn't the fastest, like I said, but he is really good because he can be built in a variety of ways. That is something that's really strong and really should be really sought for in these draft leagues. So I guess what I'm going to finish with is giving Zapdos an A+, because for the reasons that I said, that it can be built in a variety of ways, and you can kind of play mind games with your opponent. You can build things that they won't expect and pass, because it has Baton Pass, it has utility there. Because it has Defog, it has utility there. It's a really strong offensive threat. It can be a bulky threat. It can be a wall, stuff like that. So I think that it's really good. I really like what it's able to do. And so that's why I gave it an A+. So if y'all disagree, you think it should be better or worse, and whatever you think about it, leave a comment in the description. And if you like this video, subscribe. And I will see you all in the next video. Thanks for watching, guys. If y'all enjoyed the video, go ahead and leave a like, and if you want, subscribe for more videos. Hope to see y'all in the future, and thank you for watching.